Okay, boys. All right, so this is going to be the second half of 2.4. So this is just going to be really, really quick. Is that how you spell continue? Yep. So we're just going to kind of move our way through pretty quickly with this. The one thing I want you guys to see for sure is there is something called finding the order of difference or finding differences in an equation, because something that could be asked is you could be asked like what type of function, what type of function is, and then it could give you a table. It could give you something, but you have to be able to identify what type of function that is. Now your options are going to be linear, quadratic, cubic, or quartic. We really won't be dealing with cubic or quartic this year because we're going to run out of time to do so. So really, you have to be able to identify something between quadratic and linear. Those are the two things that you guys are going to have to be able to identify between, okay? So that being said, it could give you a table. It could give you a list of points. It could give you a function itself, like y equals something. It could give you a whole bunch of things. But in this case, I'm going to show you what to do if you are given a table or if you're given points, okay? So you would be, if you're given a table, you would have the x and the y, and then it would be something like this. So if you look at that table right there, it's going to ask you specifically what type of function is this. And when it asks you what type of function it is, it's basically saying what will the graph look like? Will it look like a line? Will it look like a quadratic function? Will it look like a cubic function? What is that going to look like? Now you could, if you wanted to, you could plot these points on a graph and see what it looks like, which most of you would probably be able to tell what's going on as you look at it right now anyway. But there's a really foolproof and very easy way to do this, okay? The first thing you need to do is you need to check up here, and you need to make sure that those are all increasing by value of 1, or a consistent value, I should say. Make sure that they're increasing by a consistent value. Everything that I'm going to be giving you is going to be increasing by 1, okay? So when I give you a question like this on a test, it would be increasing by 1 at a time, okay? That's what you have to pay attention to first. The second thing that you do is you just have to subtract. So you are going to look at these two numbers, and you're going to subtract them, and then compare what happens. Now, it does not matter whether you subtract the number on the left from the number on the right, or if you subtract the number on the right from the number on the left, you just have to be consistent, okay? I prefer to do the number on the right minus the number on the left. That's my preference. If you don't like that, that's fine. But you have to pay attention to the negatives, and you have to pay attention to how you decided to do it, because if you decided to do it a certain way, you have to stick with that way, okay? So I like to do 4 minus 9, which is negative 5. 1 minus 4, which is negative 3. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. 1 minus 0 is 1, then 3, then 5. Okay? Now your job is to look at these numbers right here. If those numbers are the same after doing this one time, if they're the same after the first time, this is called a linear function. So if those numbers are the same right away, this would be called a linear function. Are those numbers all the exact same number? No. And I'm literally asking you if the numbers are all the same. Negative 5, negative 5, negative 5, negative 5, negative 5. That's what I'm asking you, but they're not. So since those numbers are not the same, we just repeat the process. So you do it again with the new numbers. Also notice, and maybe in like big bold letters or star or something, make sure that you're dealing with the y column, not the x column. Because lots of people try to subtract the x column, and I told you already the x column should only be one number apart every time. Okay? So now I'm going to subtract. Again, I stay consistent. I take the number on the right minus the number on the left. Negative 3 minus negative 5. Now this is important. You have to be able to do mental math, or you have to be able to use your calculator to understand negatives, right? Negative 3 minus negative 5 is positive 2. Negative 1 minus negative 3 is positive 2. 1 minus negative 1 is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. Now again, we do the same thing that we did last time, and we compare these numbers. If these numbers are the same, they are called the same second order difference. which means that this would be quadratic. Okay, so if they are the same after the first time you do it, it is called linear. If they are the same after the second time you do it, it is called quadratic. If they're the same after the third time you do it, so this one obviously worked out after 2, but if we were to do it again, if they were the same after the third time you did it, it would be cubic. And if they were the same after the fourth time you did it, it would be called quartic. I doubt that we'll have any cubics or quartics in here. Okay, but just so you're aware. So just so that you know that those are coming, or they could come. Okay, so basically you're just subtracting the y values. If they're the same after the first time you subtract them, they're linear. If they're not, you keep going. If they're the same after the second time you do it, it's quadratic. If they're not, you keep going. If they're the same after the third time you do it, they're called cubic. If not, you keep going. So on and so forth. Okay, it won't go ever, or like it would never in this class ever go past 4 as it is. But as of right now, I just don't know that it's going to go past 2. Okay. You should be able to recognize a pattern as well. Like you should be able to realize that these are going to kind of go up, right? 0 and then 1 1 and then 4 4 and then 9 9. You can see that it's going up. So it's just something to kind of think about. Okay. Now what I'm going to do with this example right here, I'm going to show you how to find the equation using your calculator. I'm going to pull the calculator up on the screen so you can see it, but I am going to show you how to do this using your calculator. Okay, we know that this is what type of function? This is quadratic. We just figured out that this is quadratic. One part of the question would say, what type of function is this? And then the second part of the equation, or the question would say, write the equation of the function. The way that we would do this is we would open our list. So we would open our list. So hit the stat button. Hit stat. And then hit enter on edit. Now I have stuff in my list right now that I don't want in there. So I'm going to go up to L1. I'm going to hit clear and then hit enter because it's going to save me a whopping like 15 seconds. And then I'm going to hit clear again. And then that's going to bring me to this list. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in all my X values. I'm typing in all of the X values from this. So these are my X values up from the original. So when I graph this, or when I'm looking for the equation of this, I'm looking for the original stuff. I am not, I repeat, not using these. Do not use these at all. Once you figure out this is quadratic, this is done. The end. Game over. Do not use these again. Okay? Go back to your original table. So you've got your points. -3, -2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go here. So I have -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Oops. Okay, and then I'm going to the other side and I'm going to type in my numbers 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. Now, big pro tip here. Your number in your Y column should match up with your number on your X column, correct? If your number on your Y column does not match up with the number on the X column, you will be marked wrong. I mean, it will give you the wrong equation. It shouldn't be marked wrong. It will just be the wrong equation. Then you hit stat again. So hit the stat button again. My cursor is hovering over the stat button right here. Hit the stat button again, and then it will open up this list. Arrow to the right one time, and you will find all of the regressions of everything we just talked about. You remember how I said we deal up to 4th order difference? There's linear regression, which is 1st order difference. Here's quadratic regression, which is 2nd order difference. Here's cubic regression, which is 3rd order difference. And quartic regression, which is 4th order difference. We were told that this was a quadratic type. So this is number 5. So I'm going to hit 5. And then I'm going to hit enter. It might ask you a whole bunch of different questions. Like it might say calculate. It might ask you what L1 and L2 are. Just make sure that your L1 value is the X column, or your X value is the L1 column, and your Y value is the L2 column. Okay. And then it tells me exactly what my equation is, right? So my equation would just be Y equals 1 gets plugged in for A, so Y equals X squared. Okay.